Hello viewers. The Union government with all its might and machinery is working 24/7 to make the G20 Leaders Summit a spectacle. So far 51 crore has been spent for outdoor advertisement alone. Who knows, maybe they are planning it very big, like a Republic Day parade or the inauguration of an Olympics. But what we are now witnessing for some months is the beautification of some places by evicting people and entire colonies sometimes. And it has not happened in just one city or region. Multiple cases of forced eviction and demolition are being reported from different states. Of course, for smaller meetings that has been conducted related to G20's Grand Summit that's going to happen in September. And all this is happening at a time when heat waves and huge floods have devastated the country. We are already struggling to get back on our feet after the COVID-induced financial misery. Maybe it's a bigger problem because not only India, but many countries from Sri Lanka to Bangladesh to Pakistan to countries in the African continent are going through the same. What if the G20 has something to offer? But their track record proves otherwise. Year after year, conference after conference, this informal grouping of powerful countries have acted irresponsibly in helping common people on the ground. The policies they vouch for have made the rich richer and poor poorer, both individuals and countries. Remember, the poor countries even had to purchase COVID vaccines, as the international law protected the rights of big pharma companies. No international organization, including G20, could do anything. In fact, some of the organizations made sure that it happens this way only. What does it mean when I say that rich are getting richer? The richest Indian is worth $85 billion as per Forbes, as per their latest report published in August 2023. Considering an exchange rate of 80 rupees, this huge amount translates into 7 lakh crore rupees. A staggering amount of wealth to be held by a single individual. If the richest Indian were to spend, say, 2,000 rupees every minute, it will take about 24 lakh years before his net worth is exhausted. India is the country with the world's third largest number of billionaires. And on the other hand, 8% of the total population are living in absolute poverty. But wealth inequality is not just limited to India. It's a phenomenon reported in countries across the globe, from the US to Russia. As per the recent estimates of the World Inequality Report, which is published every year, the richest 10% of the globe population currently takes 52% of the global income. Yes, more than half. Whereas the poorest half of the population earns just 8.5% of it. Coming back to India, another recent study has shown that the income share of the top 1% was around 21% during the British rule in 1922. Then it declined to 6% in 1980s. From 21%, the income share of the top 1% declined to 6%. But now it has bounced back to 22% by 2015. So this shows that the income share of the top 1% is really bouncing back and is growing and growing. The recovery of Indian economy after COVID also shows that higher income households have preserved their incomes and increased savings, while low-income families had to face permanent income loss. Why? Because of the loss of jobs and wage cuts. Increase in the sale of cars, you must have read it in newspapers and heard it in news channels. And the decrease in the sale of two-wheelers is one such example that will show you what's exactly happening in the country. The bounce back graph of India after COVID is like the alphabet K. Some sectors going up and some going really down. Now let's talk about the places we live. The majority of Indians have a per capita space equivalent to or less than 10 into 10 feet room for living, sleeping, cooking, washing, and even for the toilet needs. Whereas an average Indian super rich owns 5 times more than that. To put it in perspective, let me tell you that Ambani's house Antilia is 4 lakh square feet in area. Let's talk about the health of the country also. Almost 90% of the population are more vulnerable to health issues, food shortages, and increased risk of death due to the impact of heat stress caused by repeated high temperatures. Now let me bring in a noted economist, Mr. Thomas Piketty. He points out that the level of wealth inequality is determined by the rate of return on capital. When the rate of return on capital is higher than the rate of economic growth of a country or of a region, wealth inequality tends to increase because the rich are getting more returns in their capital than the total economic growth. Something is wrong, which is working unfavorable for the rich. This is where taxing the rich ones come in. Why should we tax the rich? Because the rich are getting more wealth and more income, which is disproportionate to the growth of the economy. So, to achieve social justice and equity, to reduce wealth inequality, for funding welfare schemes for the underprivileged, and also for reducing the influence of money in politics, where some big guns fund money to particular netas and particular political parties for which they will get favors later. We have to tax the rich. But there are a lot of misconceptions around this idea. One is that taxing the rich affects the investment climate and discourages wealth generation. But if more money comes into the society, it will actually boost the economy through increased public spending, and also when the demand grows with people have lot of money. Will taxing the rich bring down their profitability, their eagerness to do business so that people will get more jobs? Absolutely no. Because if we simultaneously increase public spending, it can lead to increased demand and output in the economy. Whereas tax cuts for the rich have been accompanied by reduced growth rates and fostered concentration of wealth. This is what exactly happened in our country a few years back when corporate tax was slashed heavily. Everybody expected the economy to grow, but it didn't happen. There was no proportionate increase in the economic growth, no proportionate growth in the industrial output. The rich, the corporates who got the tax cuts, took that money and kept it in their pockets. Taxing the super rich will also help us in promoting climate justice. How? The top 1% of the world is responsible for most of the carbon emission because of their lifestyle. They create over double the carbon emissions than the poorest 50%. A wealth tax could promote climate justice by using this revenue generated to fund climate action for those who are disproportionately affected by the climate change. Of course, these are things G20 leaders won't even think of. But we, the people of the world, have to think and act for our own sake. In Delhi, on August 18th, 19th and 20th, people's movements, trade unions, civil society organizations and concerned citizens are coming together to deliberate on key issues. Interested? We welcome you to join us. Thank you.